Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So with the influx of new players as well as the opening of the new servers itself, we are getting a lot of players who jump on the game and they might not have that developed of an account. So I've seen a lot of comments asking for like one Celestial Hypogean Dream Realm teams. So therefore for this week, that will be what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna share the teams which are more free-to-play centric, or they only have one Celestial Hypogean units. As for the other units recommended in my video itself, I'll just be basing them off the fact that you are able to access the other units more easily, so they are generally more free-to-play centric. Obviously, there are certain units which you don't generally invest first, for example like Shakir, but they will make decent choices if you do commit to them for your Dream Realm purposes anyway. So without further ado, right, we'll start with Lone Gaze today. So for Lone Gaze, I think one thing that people need to know about Lone Gaze is if you're only running one Celestial Hypogean unit, you have to be able to survive the boss's attack. So for the next few days, I'll be using all the different endless bosses to showcase the different damage range, as well as talk about teams that you can use for the different bosses with only one Celestial Hypogean unit. So first, let's start with Reina. If we do decide to use Reina for the team, Reina will be either in this or this position, or even this two position right here. So this unit will be at the back line in terms of the positioning, pretty restricted, and then you kind of want to set in your carry. So the best units for this boss for a free-to-play player will be your Mauler classes as usual, because they are just really versatile, they're just really cheap, and they are generally like the best free-to-play for the different bosses out there, right? Generally there are some bosses where the light bearer side is better, so Smokey and Odie is a must, and right, you can obviously use Coco. So Coco will give you that massive damage reduction, which allows your team to survive the barrage, and then with the full duration damage on the boss itself, you will be able to maximize your DPS. So in most cases, right, against Lone Gaze, what you want to prevent is the stat stacking from combat wheel, because the boss is able to get defenses as well as haste when he defeats an enemy. So the first unit that will die in this lineup will be Reina in most cases, because this unit will be at the back line eating most of the boss's ultimate or even the skills itself. So right, there's a few ways you can do that. So if you have two Celestial Hypogean, you can use our dear Freyasto for the damage reduction on Reina, or for the more free-to-play option, you can obviously use Torrent with the EX weapon. So Torrent and Mythic Plus with the EX weapon has this ability to link to an ally and then absorb some damage for the ally. So this will be the best free-to-play team with only Reina, right? This is probably the best, because this way you can protect Reina, because if you use any other unit, there's a very high chance your Reina doesn't survive, right? And then your boss will start steamrolling from there. So if you don't have Coco, you can obviously use Shakir, right? Shakir has the damage reduction, has an aura to boost damage for your Smokey as well as your Odie or your units on the front line. And if Shakir's running to the back line when the bosses is moving to the back line, the aura can also benefit Reina, right? But Reina has to survive. So I'll do two runs, one with Shakir and one with Coco. So without further ado, let's start this, okay? So Reina will send in Odie to give Odie the damage reduction as well as the attack boost. So we'll go at 3 times, and I will slow down at important details that you guys need to know. So this is the attack that the wolves will start focusing the back line. So if you don't have Torrent here, as the bosses lose more HP from you attacking him, right, the boss will hit really hard, and then that's where the backline will fall. So I think the backline will only start taking a lot of damage towards the end. So that's where we're gonna 3 times first and move to the last 20 seconds of battle. So if you have Coco in the team, right, Coco's damage reduction and shielding should be able to keep your unit alive. So let's say, right, if you experimented with your team and you get certain damage numbers, and then you realize that, hey, with Coco and Smokey it's enough to keep Reina alive, then you don't have to run Torrent. You can use Shakir for the full Mauler boost as well as the haste buff that Shakir can provide for your team. So right here, right, we have Coco, so we are able to generate a massive shield, and that's where all our units survive and we are able to do full damage from there. So this is 32 build. Okay, so this is a damage range for the free-to-play player with only one Celestial Hypogean unit. Okay, so now if you if you can survive, for example, right, I'll fine-tune this. So now knowing that I can actually survive, right, and if let's say you have Lily May, please use Lily May in Odie's place, because I think Lily May just does a much better job in terms of damage dealing. So if you have her, use her, right? But if you don't have her, if you have the more free-to-play option, then Odie is the way to go, obviously. And just now, like I mentioned, since our Coco is able to keep our Reina alive, just being there alone, then I can slot in another carry for me to amp up my damage. So this is where you throw an arrow with your team to see whether or not, right, with this setup, you're able to prevent Reina from dying. So right here, I'm going to just switch in my dear Lily May, which is the current strongest carry for Dream Realm boss. So for those of you guys who are new to the game, Lily May is pretty much a must pull, right, to maximize your damage, because it's really good, really strong in different places. Okay, so this is where you try to amp up your damage. So you guys can see where without Torrent's protection as well as our faster damage dealing process, our Reina is actually losing HP faster. So your job is to find a balance between dealing enough damage and then not dying too early. Dying towards like the last 10-20 seconds in battle, I think is perfectly fine, because right, that's where you really did most of your damage. So right now, as you guys can see, Reina fell, but I think it's fine as long as Lone Gaze doesn't start steamrolling, which I think shouldn't be the case because we have both Coco as well as Smokey. So you have to find a balance in terms of your team builds itself. Okay, so this is 32 build as well, pretty close to the previous time, because in this team, right, even though Lily May is doing a lot more damage, we are not buffing Odie up as much, and we are not getting the debuff from Torrent for the team. So in terms of the overall damage output, this is probably the range for this team setup. So you change accordingly, but your idea is to protect Reina so he doesn't die too easily. Now let's say if you don't have Reina but you have Scarlita in the place, right, what do you do? How do you build your team? So now if you don't have Reina, right, we are not gonna send in Odie, right? So Odie will be the Magmos unit, and Odie will be the one that you're trying to protect. But since just now in the earlier demonstration, we have found out that Coco and Smokey is sufficient to keep Reina alive, there's a very high chance Odie can be kept alive. So you can keep Odie alive with obviously Torrent as well. Once again, just linking Torrent to Odie so Torrent can take some damage. Basically, Torrent will serve the job of protecting your unit. So now if you have Scarlita shielding should be able to also give the additional like shielding to protect your Odie from taking too much damage. So that is Scarlita's job. Another way to do it is to link Torrent to Scarlita. So in case Scarlita comes down, Scarlita can be your damage dealer if you have her built up enough, and then you can protect her from getting sniped. But in most cases, I will link Odie to Torrent because Odie is always at the back line and Odie is more frail compared to Scarlita. So if you only have Scarlita, this is the team build, okay? So we start this one. So for this season itself specifically, Scarlita's a pretty good endgame bosser because of the Heart of Unity seasonal buff. So after the Song of Strife season itself, Scarlita might fall off a lot. So this team might not work if you're watching this video after the Song of Strife season, but this team should work in most cases right now in Song of Strife because, right, this unit Scarlita has a really powerful seasonal skill. So if you're watching this video in a pre-season, Lone Gaze is not released yet, but if you are in the Song of Strife and you have Scarlita, this unit is gonna serve you really well in the late game because this unit is amazing for PvP and for Dream Realm because the seasonal skill is able to boost your damage output massively. This unit is actually the better endgame unit for seasonal Dream Realm if you only have one copy of Celestial Hypogean unit. So right here, as you guys can see, Scarlita turns out to be a pretty darn decent damage dealer as well. So this is another team variant in case you only have Scarlita. Right, if your Scarlita is not like fully built up, what I would suggest is you want to protect Scarlita and then let Odie stand on the back line, because if you already have Coco and Smokey to sort of provide damage reduction as well as healing, I think Odie should be fine even though Odie is at the back. So that's something to take note of. Okay, so this is for the one Scarlita. Okay, and then one more team which I can recommend is what if you only have Fresto. So Fresto is really good. Like, the reason why Fresto is amazing for the Dream Realm bosses is because Fresto himself has damage reduction and he does a lot of damage, and he has energy regen on the other guy, which is able to like buff up whatever unit that is in this slot, right, to do more damage. So right here we have Odie protected, right? We have Resto, and then we have this slot. So if you can survive, right? If you can survive, you can put in a damage dealer, for example, like Merrily. I think Merrily is not that good for this boss, but I'll use Lily May as an example, right? So this is one way you can build a team, and right, your Lily May is able to spam her skills with the energy regen, and OD is also protected with the massive damage reduction from the illusion side. So that's where, right, this team will work with only one Celestial Hypogean unit. So let's go, okay? So for Freyasto as a unit for Dream Realm right now, in most cases, this unit is actually more of a damage dealer than more for his utility. But the damage dealing with the added utility makes Freyasto an amazing Dream Realm character as well. And to add bonus to that, right, Freyasto's Dream Realm abilities is not inside the seasonal skill. So Freyasto can stay relevant in the post Dream Realm season because, right, his season skill is a taunt, which doesn't even affect the boss. So removal of the season skill does not affect your Freyasto's damage output or utility in Dream Realm generally. So Freyasto is, I'll say, like the better unit for longevity for Dream Realm, at least based on the current situation. Okay, so right here, as you guys can see, right, Lily May, who is my damage dealer, is able to do a lot more damage with the energy cycling to spam more ultimate, and OD is also protected to not die so that the boss don't steamroll. And most importantly, Freyasto himself does a shit ton of damage, right? With 2 units on the battlefield, that's 12 build damage. So that's for this boss. Okay, so you can also use another carry in this slot, maybe like, for example, Merrily for true damage, right? If you're not very contented with Lily May's damage output. But I think Merrily is generally not like a really good unit for this boss because range attacks do miss on this boss. So I would actually recommend Corinne instead. So that way Corinne can spam the skill, right? And right, Corinne can actually shield the whole team so the whole team doesn't die. So Corinne actually does better for this boss in terms of damage dealing. So that's for this one Celestial Hypogean team setup for Dream Realm side of things. So I think the best unit, right, in terms of Dream Realm centric teams, I'll say right now is currently Freyasto, in terms of just purely from the Dream Realm side of things. General versatility wise, Reina is still unbeatable because Reina can be used almost every single game mode. Battle Drill, PvE, Arena, Supreme Arena, Dream Realm. I think Reina is still the more flexible one. So if you do intend to build a team around Reina, it's perfectly fine as well. It's just that Reina fell off a little bit in the new season because Reina's season skill ain't exactly the best. Okay, so right here, this is the damage distribution. So Corinne is a weaker damage dealer compared to Lily May, so that's why the damage output is a little bit lower. Okay, so this is another team variant. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the one Celestial Hypogean unit team recommendation. In terms of the team archetypes itself, this is another team that you guys can run against Lone Gaze. I don't recommend this because like I think generally the Mauler side does more damage. So if you have OD developed, if you have Coco developed, then you should be fielding them instead of the Light Bearers. But let's say, right, your Light Bearers are stronger, you are more into Light Bearers, this is one team that you guys can use. For Wilders right now, I think Wilders don't actually have a good Dream Realm team yet, like pure Wilders side. So you might have to mix Wilders with, for example, like the Maulers, for using like, let's say, Lily May as a carry, and then you put in Coco if you need to survive, and then maybe Torrent, right, to protect the backline, for example. So this is for the Wilders side. I think this is the best Wilders team you can come up with because I personally don't think that Wilder has a very good bossing mechanic right now yet, except for Lily May. So you're pretty much running her as the solo carry. So this is how a Wilders team will look like. For the Graveborn side right now, Graveborn has some really amazing units, which is for bossing, right? Ludovic is one. So Ludovic alone actually does a pretty darn good job for healing and damage. So if you're running the Ludovic team, you can do this, and then you can run one more damage dealer. So since we are using our dear Smokey, we're gonna put in OD as well, okay? Because now we have 2 healers and we have Reina protected, so this is the team. So I'll showcase this one, and then for the modification, it's pretty much the same for the Mauler team, so you guys can see the difference. So this is for the Wilder side. For the Light Bearer side, the damage range will lose out to the Maulers, but for this one, I think Ludovic does a decent chunk of damage as a support, which means that this team might be able to beat out a pure Mauler variant, although we have lesser stats. So right here, as you guys can see, right, Odie is able to be healed up, even though the HP drop a lot. But I think as we take more damage from the wolves, the boss skill itself, as you guys can see, right, the OD might fall. But generally, I think we still should perform quite well. Should be a 30 plus build damage range based on this pacing of damage. Yeah. Okay, so OD died. So you guys can see, you definitely need to find some way to protect your OD. So you can send in OD, right, in Smokey's place. I think that works as well. So this team also functions pretty well compared to the pure Mauler team. So it just depends on what units you have. Generally, I think for this boss, you just need to have enough survival, right, to protect the boss from gaining momentum too fast. I think you have a pretty decent team. And with regards to the one Celestial Hypogean team building side, just slot them in and then put in other units that you will need to actually protect them, and from there you get your best damage output for your own account. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the videos for the next few days for the one team or one Celestial Hypogean team's recommendation. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.